Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Shellie R. Warren, writer, three-time author, marriage life coach, and and so many things she has been and doing and thrived in all fields for over 2 decades now. Welcome to the show, Shellie.
Thank you very much. Very much.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Shellie.
I
And
know.
I'm
India. Yeah.
And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll learn about wisdom, marriage wisdom from you, and that too in your own way that you have discovered for by helping a lot of people. So we'll talk. But before that, let's learn a bit more about you for the audience so that they know who they are. A bit about your journey, a bit about your background, so they know a bit better who they are listening to.
Okay. So I turned 50 this past June. Next year, I will have been a full time writer, which is a minor miracle these days, for 25 years. My passion has always been relationships. Not really, relationships have just always fascinated me. So that's where I got my start as a writer. And then I'm also an author. So I released my third book last month, also on relationships, but kind of running the gamut like family dynamics, friendship dynamics, sex, relationships. And then marriage life coaching, I've been doing for about 20 years. But the catch is never been married. And the hook is my niche is reconciling divorces. I'm very interested in that. And it served me well. When I first started, people are, of course, they're cynical. The running statement is, how can you help people that need marriage help when you've never been married? And the first response I usually have is, I am a child of divorce, though. And you'd be amazed the wisdom we have if you just sit down and talk to kids of divorce, little or adults. And then from a spiritual perspective, I am a Bible follower. And so there are three characters in the Bible that spoke the most about marriage. It was Moses, Paul, and Christ and Paul were single. And then my third response is 50% of marriages end in divorce because I don't know how much wisdom a lot of married people have about marriage, to be honest. You can find wisdom anywhere, you know? So it served me well. Like I work full time as a writer, and when I'm not writing, I'm coaching married people. It's great.
Right, right. Great, Shelley. And thank you for sharing all the details. And I don't know why should people expect a marriage counselor to be married just because they want to be. It's like it's like a therapist. Do they have to be mentally disturbed to be able to become a therapist?
You know what? I think we've been programmed to decide who has wisdom and who doesn't, but everyone has some wisdom. It would be like saying, I don't like calling homeless people homeless, I call them houseless. It would be like saying, don't listen to a houseless person about how to be broke. I'm definitely going to listen to a houseless person about how to avoid being broke. Or don't listen to children. They don't know what they talk about. I have two godchildren, 13 and 5. And my 5-year-old godchild, she says some stuff that's wiser than some people I know my age. So I think it's kind of like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for the package to come the way you want it, or are you looking for the lesson? And if you're looking for a lesson, you can find those anywhere, everywhere. So it is funny because when most of my clients, I get referred. So initially they're cynical and sarcastic, but I study marriage so much that I think that's what throws them off. Like I read books, I read stats, I research it, I look at it from different faiths. I'm very passionate about it. I think marriage is beautiful, but I think we're very ill prepared going into it. And so that's the other thing that comes up often, like, well, since you know so much about marriage, why aren't you married? You just answered your own question with your, with your question. I know too much now to just getting something stupid, you know? So I'm pro marriage, but it's almost like, not in an arrogant way, but it's been 20 years, right? I'm kind of like a PhD graduate on marriage, so I need a PhD graduate to marry me. And if that doesn't happen, I'm okay. I'll just keep focusing on keeping other people married. It's very rewarding. It is. It is. I love it.
Absolutely, absolutely, Shelley. So I want to understand, what does a marriage coach do in especially in today's time? What is it that you do?
Yeah, yeah, okay. So what they do and what I do is a little different.
Yes.
Coaching, okay. So I think it's really important that people know the difference between coaching and therapy. Um, Therapists often help to give you the answers. Coaches ask you questions to help you get to your own answers. But when I was going through coaching school, because for years I wasn't, in America, a lot of us call ourselves life coaches so we don't get sued. But now they're making it required that you get licensed to be a life coach. And they should. They should. So when I was going through my formal training, which wasn't too long ago, I called the owner of the school I graduated from my principal. And my principal was like, "You're a hybrid for sure. Like you use the life coaching title, but you're definitely a therapist." So what I do is often when people come to me, what I say often is like half the house is burned down and you want us to save the other house, the other part of the house. So I'm very aggressive in helping to provide tips and tools, because a lot of marriages can be saved. We're just not, especially in America, we're not aggressive about helping people save them. We're very quick to just say, I mean, don't work out, move on, find somebody else. And the thing is, every divorce, you have like your next divorce, you have a 20% greater chance of getting a divorce. And then the third, so it's like 50%. Then the second marriage is like 65%. And then the third divorce is like 72%. So it's like, well, why don't we just stick with the first one and try to make that work? And so that's why I say that my niche is reconciling divorces, because either people often come to me when they're right ready to file, or they feel bad about getting divorced, because that's another thing we don't talk about. A lot of people actually regret divorcing. It's about 35%. So they're like, I kind of want to see if we can make it work. How do we do that? And how I do it is, what's your childhood stuff? Like, what was your parents' marriage like? Why did you get married in the first place? What were your expectations of marriage? Were they realistic? And why are you wanting to keep it working? And I don't personally believe that for the kids is the best answer. Kids just want happy parents. So make it work because you want it to work. Kids can read energy. Kids can tell when people are safe or unsafe. So don't do it for them. Do it for you, and then they'll be okay.
Right, right. So I want to understand, what are the major challenges in marriage today, because so many voices are coming, masculine, feminine, and I just don't know. Earlier, wasn't it the same thing? There were, but nowadays so much of people, they talk about as if they have rediscovered the wheel, you know and then they're talking about. So help us understand then, are these challenges were always there in any marriage, there will be there, nobody, nowhere. So I want to understand the present day, because you are dealing with them. It is something from the ground itself.
um, I definitely think a lot of people don't marry people they like. I tell couples often, if you like your partner, even if you don't feel like you love them right now, we can get you back to love. But if you don't like them, we're in trouble. And a lot of people don't marry their friends. Like, we really underestimate that. When you hear two men or two women, I'm saying in a friendship, they usually work it out. When friends fall out, it has to be huge, huge. But usually they'll figure out how to work it out. But you'll even hear couples when they're dating, If he does this, I'm done. If she says this, I'm out. Okay, you've already shown that you all aren't friends. So I think that's a challenge. I think another challenge is your expectations are just very unrealistic. Something I tell wives often is you deserve a wedding because you're a bride for a day. You're a wife afterwards. A lot of people want to be a bride forever. Every day's a party. It's not. I think another issue is people aren't forthcoming with their partner, but I also think the other partner doesn't provide a space for them to be. So oftentimes my clients, we speak separately for a while because, especially the husbands, because they automatically think I'm team wife just because I'm a woman. And often I'm quite harder on the wife, to be honest. Because I said earlier I'm a Bible follower, and Scripture says we're to be a helpmate. You're not helping if you're not providing a safe space for him to share his emotions. You're not helping if you're not listening when he's speaking, or you're telling him what he's thinking. You're not helping if you're saying you can talk to me about anything, and then he talks to you about something, then you're mad. You know, So I think one of the things that's helpful for me when it comes to men is men have a woman that they can safely speak to. And then I give them tools on how to communicate with their wife better or more effectively. I think another problem or challenge is they stop prioritizing the relationship. When we date, we prioritize our partner. When we're married, we don't. So I have some couples, not all my couples are in trouble, but some of my couples, I call them tune-ups. They come in for the tune-up. And every couple, I really think everybody should go to therapy like twice a year. Just to kind of check in. Because sometimes you think you're good, but you're not good. Um, and there's some couples I've worked with, they haven't gone on a date this whole year. That's insane because life gets in the way. Your friendships, errands, kids, whatever, dating's important. So if you stop prioritizing each other things can, I call it things can get in the mouth holes. Affairs don't just happen. There's like a billion steps that lead to an affair. Like literally billions of steps. So yeah, not spending quality time is another problem. And not setting healthy boundaries with family. Just people all up in your marriage is also a huge problem, I think.
Okay, okay. What does it mean? There are people all over in your marriage. You means other people uh, getting to speak between the two of
Yes,
husband and wife.
yes. When you
Who are
find
these
your,
people?
when you find yourself when you
Who
find
are these
yourself
people?
when you find yourself listening to your mom more than your
Oh,
spouse.
I
when,
thought this was very much prevalent only in India. There also.
Everywhere. When you call your girlfriend before you call your husband to talk about a problem with your husband. um I think married people can have all kinds of friends. Now I'm single, right? I do think you can have all kind of friends, but if you're gonna have single friends, make sure that they're marriage minded. Don't have single friends that are, girl, I wouldn't put up with that. I'm sick of that. When you gonna leave him? Don't have those kind of friends. Um, I also think watch what you share. Like a lot of times, husbands don't share a lot of how they feel because they already know you've told five people when they
Okay.
told you last time. So you're not a safe person to them. But if you married your best friend, we always talk to our best friend first. Why don't people just marry their friend? What's going on?
Right, right. So, see, it's a very strange thing. Men don't feel comfortable sharing why with the women in their lives.
You
Why,
know,
why, why, why is it so?
I think I can only speak for here, right? The States. Um, I think our culture has been conditioned that men are to provide and protect, and it kind of stops there. Feelings, we'll get around to it maybe. Needs, well, your needs are secondary. We have not taught people how to be married. One of the best things that ever happened to me, which also is a part of the reason why I'm still single. This was probably more than 20 years ago now. There was a church here that had premarital classes, but you could not be in a relationship to be in them. It was great. So they were just giving advice on simple things like if you're dating someone who doesn't go to this, it's for college students. So they're like, if they don't go to class on time, why would you marry them and expect them to come home on time? Or if they don't manage their money wisely as a single person, why would you think they would manage money wisely as a married person? Right? I think a lot of times people they watch Disney, they watch soap operas, they watch rom coms, romantic comedies. A lot of girls, I call it wedding porn because we know porn isn't just about sex; it's anything excessive. So they have the Barbie dolls with the wedding dress. So they have these ideals of what they want, but they never really think of what's required. So then it's like I read in a book one time, the author said it's interesting how people can know exactly what the color of a reception napkin should be, but they have no idea how to make a marriage last past the honeymoon because they planned for the wedding, but they didn't plan for the marriage. That's so true. That's so true. So everybody's just in a free for all. Like we're very detailed about the wedding. We know what we want to do on our honeymoon. We might have a 6 month plan, and then after that, then what? Because
Right.
we're not prepared. And stats say that if you go to premarital counseling, you have a 33% greater chance of succeeding in your marriage than if you don't go to premarital counseling. And by the way, people, premarital counseling does not mean 3 sessions that are 20 minutes long. Like when people come to me for premarital counseling, it's 6 months. And we easily spend 2 to 3 months on just intimacy. Because that's another problem. We're sexually ill prepared for marriage too. Because nobody really is talking about it or you're not taught properly. So we kind of see sex as recreational when we're single. And then we don't see it as a priority and important when you're married. And it is a priority and it is important. But if you don't know the purpose of it, you don't know how to use it properly.
Right, right, Shelley. So you talk about preparation for marriage. What is this preparation for? That you get them prepared, mentally prepared about things, conditioning for
Yes.
marriage, setting expectations right. Is that right?
Yes. And also, so like one of the sessions, when I have sessions with couples, one of the things I'll bring up is, so where's your credit scores? And then people like, I don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about your credit score? Because it's going to directly impact your spouse, right? You don't want to talk about your finances. You don't want to talk about if you paid taxes last year. You're already showing red flags. No, that's not important. We'll deal with that later. And that's another thing people don't realize. I think the latest stat is like close to 45% of people go into immediate debt from their wedding. Their wedding puts them in immediate debt. And finances continue to be a top reason for divorce even now. So preparation looks like if your finances suck as a single person, you need to spend some time getting that cleared up. If you don't have healthy boundaries with your family members, if you by yourself don't know how to tell your mom no and back off a little bit, you need to get that together. If you're not a good listener, and your friends will tell you if you're a good listener, your partner may not because they may not want to hurt your feelings or they don't want to argue about it. Ask your friends if you're a good listener. Ask your friends if you're a good forgiver. If you don't know how to forgive, don't get married. Ask any married person, they're going to tell you they forgive every single day. Sometimes it's a big thing, sometimes it's a little thing, but you're forgiving every day. So if you hold grudges, if you're passive aggressive, if you get your feelings hurt easily, you're going to suck at marriage. If you're going into marriage thinking you got like I'm only going to take this much, I'm only going to deal with this, you can stay single then too. I really am amazed how many people say till death do us part and they didn't mean it. So I'm like, why did y'all even say it? Just say what you mean. I'm saying on the wedding day, say what you mean. Until you piss me off, until I'm sick of you, until I'm tired. Because that's what you mean. So say it. Death do us part is death do us part. And so if you can't really mean that, Don't get married. I think what's crazy is people act like they have to get married. You don't. So if you don't want to do what marriage requires, don't do it.
Right. Don't do it if you don't. So you talked about, credit score. So is it only for the men, or is it also for women also? Their credit score should also be discussed because it's going to impact the marriage somewhere or the other.
You better find out her credit score. You better find out she's got a savings account. You better look. There was a couple I worked with. I didn't counsel them into marriage, but they got divorced, and I counseled them into reconciliation. And they got married again. They're now divorced again, and it was for the same reason. The wife was getting, well, one of the main reasons. I call it financial infidelity. We always talk about like sexual infidelity, but there's financial infidelity too. When someone's not honest with you about what they do with the money, they got hidden credit cards somewhere. So he kept paying off. She's very frivolous, and he's very frugal about money. That wasn't a good combination to get married, right? So she knew she could take advantage of him because she knew he wanted to keep a high credit score. So she would get these credit cards, buy furniture, shoes, bags. Then it would take thousands of dollars for him to find out, but then he'd hurry up and pay it off because he didn't want that on his credit. You better find out her spending habits. The other thing I think is interesting is, have you ever heard the De Beers story? The jewelry company De Beers?
Yes, yes. De
Okay.
Beers. It's there in India
So
also, if I understand.
I'm not big on, okay. It's not that I'm not big on engagement rings. I think people should know the story behind them, right?
Yes.
Um I think it was around the 1930s. De Beers was going out of business. So they came out with a diamond is forever. And that's when engagement rings became a big deal. Diamond engagement
Absolutely.
rings. They weren't.
Absolutely.
They weren't before then. So all this pressure that a man needs to spend 3 months' salary, and I don't want to get married until I have this big old diamond on my finger. Engagement rings have nothing to do with love, sweetheart. That was marketing and commerce. Know your history, right? So even that kind of pressure, like, I really want to marry you, but I want a really big wedding. And stats even say smaller weddings tend to last long, have longer marriages, because you're marrying the person and not the event, right? So if you want to have a big party, just wear a big party dress and throw a big party. Weddings should be more sacred than that. So yes, all
Absolutely.
that to say, you if you marry someone who is irresponsible with money, you're going to be miserable. And you can definitely tell if someone's irresponsible before you marry them.
So how to find out that? And you talked about De Beers. You see the irony of the times we live in.
Yeah,
Whether a whether a marriage is forever or not, but diamond is sure forever,
it's so
isn't it?
ridiculous. You need someone needs to have a savings account. And the savings account, so I'm speaking American currency. I mean, you should
Right.
have at least $1,500 in your savings account, and that's not a lot. But be amazed how many people don't even have that. You should find out if they went to school, if their student loans are paid off. You should find out how many credit cards they have. These are all conversations you should have before marrying someone. You should find out like what their priorities are. When you watch on Instagram and people are telling me I love to travel. Okay, that's great. How much? How much do you love to travel? And what money are you spending to do all this traveling? Um, One thing that I think men should ask before getting engaged is like, if I could only get you either or, the diamond ring or down payment on a house, which would you choose? Right? I'm willing to bet like 80% of women are going to say the diamond ring, but it does show her priorities, correct? Because something I tell women often is, if you want the ring that bad, I'm not anti the ring. I just need people not be obsessed over it. Are you willing to get the down payment now and he upgrades your ring later? Are you even open to that? Because the upgrades are nice, right? Have a baby, go through some trials, have her stick with you when your mom got cancer, then get her a ring. She showed she's worthy of the ring, then she stuck it out. But out the gate, spending $15,000 and now you can't even pay your rent, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Right. So isn't it a red flag either for that if somebody is choosing a ring, diamond ring, instead of a house, which can be, which can be there for you, give you shelter during the difficult times. A ring cannot do anything of that. So should they then? Men are also then, to be blamed. Then if you are choosing, if it
Uh,
80% of, isn't it? You are not looking at the uh, big red
Character,
flags.
the character. But again, I can only speak for the states, but we're cultured to think it's more about if you can afford it, whether if she should expect it. We're like it's amazing me how many people will say to me, like I'm not watching on TV, they're saying to me, "Oh, I love him. I can't wait to be his wife, but we need to save up 40,000 for this wedding." And I'm like, "Well, I thought you loved him and couldn't wait to be his wife. You could be his wife today. Go to the courthouse." So even that kind of shows priorities, right? If we've got to delay life for these big parties, these big occasions, then men should rethink that too, in my opinion. I don't know too many men. You are a man, right? So jump in if I'm wrong. But I don't know too many men who will fully deny someone they love what they want, but they will say wait. When a man really loves someone, more times than not, you can have what you ask. You just may not be able to have it immediately.
Yes, but
You
if you
know?
love, you got to love the right person, because that person also, other person, other half, better half, has
Yes,
to be has to have better judgment whether this man can afford today, tomorrow, or never. Why get
100%.
into debt the day you are entering into a sacred relationship? It means you are walking into disaster, not into marriage.
100%. So if a woman says to her husband, I would like to travel around the world, most husbands I know will say, okay, then let's save up for that. No, I'm not going to max out credit cards so you can go for your birthday in 3 months, but we can plan and go on our anniversary in 5 years if you just wait, right? So I think that's another red flag. If you're dating someone who's impatient or does ultimatums, which I call threats, ultimatums are threats. And a lot of people are threatened into marriage. If you don't marry me by Christmas, the most popular month in the States to get engaged is December. Christmas, New Year's Eve, all that. If you don't marry me this Christmas, we're done. I don't know why you would marry her. Because what she's teaching you is pressure works. And sometimes it's got to be no. We can't do that right now. I hear that you want to get married though, so let's put a plan together. And maybe we can get engaged next Christmas. But I'm out. I'm sick of your stuff. Well, she's showing you how she negotiates. She's showing you. So
Right, right, Shelly. So, what are the ways to be happy in a marriage?
in a
Means,
marriage,
how do you turn that sour marriage into a happy marriage for whoever wants it that way? Do they both have to want it, or or is it even one party? How does it work? How do you make it work?
so I'm not a fan of happy marriages. I'm a fan of healthy marriages.
Well said. Yes.
Because happy's an emotion, like again using my goddaughter as an example. She likes these bars, these little fruit bars. Give me a bar, I'll be so happy. Auntie Shelly, give me a bar. Give her the bar. And she's happy for how long? An hour. Now she wants some gummies. Then she wants some fruit. Like you can't do the happy thing, but you can do the healthy thing. And how can couples be healthy? Um, be honest with each other, be kind to each other. And I think kind is very different than nice. Okay. I'm not a fan of nice, but I do like kind.
Right.
Nice means agreeable. And no, you shouldn't be agreeable all the time, but you should be kind. Like speak to your partner the way you want to be spoken to. Timing. It's amazing how many couples
Right.
I know just suck at timing. Um, some advice that I often give is like when you both first get home from work, or if one of you's home and the other's coming home from work, greet each other and then leave each other alone for 30 minutes to an hour.
Right.
Because whatever the mindset was outside the home, it's different in the home. And if you're meeting
Absolutely.
each other at the door with all these demands and expectations and complaints, it's already creating tension. And the one place that shouldn't be tense is home, right? Like I have t-shirts that say and sweatshirts that say sanctuary maker on it. That's what I think women should be. A sanctuary is a place of refuge. So when you come home, men should exhale, not tense up, right? Quality time is really important. Even if you can't always go out on a date, create a date at home. When the kids go to sleep, have a movie night at home. Um, Statistics say a healthy marriage has sex 4 times a month. We know scheduling is scheduling. So sometimes that might be 3 times in one week and one time another week or once a week. But if you can prioritize, look, people spend 2.5 hours a day on social media, right? The average couple says if they have sex for 7 to 13 minutes, they're fine. So if you can find 2.5 hours every day for Instagram, you can find 13 minutes for your partner. Let's not play these games. That's healthy. Forgiveness is healthy. And I mean, like, in my personal opinion, I don't really think things like affairs break up marriages so much as, didn't I tell you to clean out that kitchen? And it's years of saying that. I think it's little things that you don't release and let go that builds up into big things. So forgiveness makes a healthy marriage. Um, Being spiritually aligned, whatever that means for you, makes a healthy marriage. I'm amazed by how many people think that not having the same values isn't a big deal. It is a big deal. So, like for me personally, we're going into Thanksgiving this week. I don't observe any holiday. It's just a personal preference. I don't care about them. Imagine if I decide to marry someone who's huge on holidays. It creates conflict because then, if I don't really feel like going over to his family's house, but they want to be over there for 3 4 days to celebrate Christmas, you've got to care about those kind of things. Making sure that the kids don't run your house. Like the kids came into your marriage, you didn't come into their life; they came into yours. So you have to make sure the kids don't run the show. Your partner's needs always need to come before your kids. Your kids will be fine. If you're healthy, they're happy. I know that from personal experience. Healthy marriage, patience. But one of my favorite definitions of patience, dictionary.com says that one definition, of course, is to wait. But another definition says to be able to handle hardship and challenges without complaining. That's huge. So, there's a scripture in the Bible says love is patient. And a lot of Christian marriages will say that in the wedding. Oh, I love you. Love is patient. But I wonder if they're really realizing that they're saying, I'm going to not complain. That's big. And I really think it's getting less and less popular. I really think your partner should be your best friend. Because I'm a writer, I'm very word specific. And so it's interesting to me when people are like my husband and then my best friend so and so. Because I know what best means of highest quality, most suitable, most advantageous. So you got this person that you promised your life to, but then you got somebody else that's your best. So my close friends, when they get married, I demote myself. I'm like, now we're good friends. Because since I love you, I've got to move out away so you can prioritize your partner. I think all those are keys to a healthy marriage. And you know what else? Spending time in nature. We are so plugged in and we don't realize how much what we're listening to influences us. And even just something as simple as taking a walk with your partner in the morning before work or after dinner after work, and there's just nothing around but nature and in each other. That can do wonders too. Because you can learn a not, like nature just adjusts. Nature's not like, oh, winter's coming. It just adjusts. And I think that's what we can learn spending time. Just learn, be adaptable, be flexible. The person you married is not the person they are today. Adjust to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Be adjust to the situation, have some patience, make the De Beers diamond ring, wait for some time. The costly one. The rest is
Yes, yes. And be
yeah.
flexible, adapt. If you want people to get, you're not, who is it that said, I am a quotes person, but I can't remember the origin of this quote. You married three people, the person you thought they were, the person they are, and the person they're going to be. When you made vows, you married all those people. So you're not the same person you were 2 years ago. Why are you expecting your partner to be? And I think that messes up a lot of marriages too. Like, you don't do like you did 10 years ago. I'm not who I was 10 years ago. Adjust. Love is flexible.
Absolutely. Flexibility is love.
Love is flexible for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's much to learn from you, uh, Shelly, from all these things about all these things. And I'm sure a lot of people, troubled, not troubled, looking at, staring at trouble in their marriages and want all the help that is possible. So, for all those people, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
So what's funny, y'all, is I don't do social media at all. You can email me though. It's MISSNOSIPHO at Gmail. It's very unconventional to do the work that I do without doing social media, but it's so much more peaceful. Because it's kind of like, if you find me, you find me. If you find me, we're meant to be. And you can Google me. I'm Googleable. You put my name in, I'll pop up. But I got off of Facebook 15 years ago. I was on Facebook heavy, and I told everybody I'm gonna take 6 weeks off, and I never went back. And I get what it's necessary for, but I'm just good without it. I enjoy life without it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.